Traditions are often something that people enjoy. It means giving gifts and spending time with loved ones. If we were to turn back the pages of history, though, we might end up finding many things that were considered traditions to be downright horrific. The biggest one that comes to mind is the traditions of the Aztec people. Human sacrifice was a pillar of their society and would often involve horrific deaths. The most common of the bunch was a heart execution, where they cut through your abdomen and then up to the diaphragm. They did this unquestioningly and with full conviction. Nowadays, people would look at this practice as inhumane and appalling. It's easy to pass judgment on past civilizations, but many who do this fail to realize that even to this day, many of us engage in cruel and awful behavior just because it's deemed as tradition. There's a very potent horror that comes to mind when you realize that, and the cult horror icon Thomas Ligotti manages to eloquently capture that within his story The Last Feast of Harlequin. Strap yourselves in because you're in for a very cosmic horror Christmas special. Around December, in the quiet town of Miroka, there's a festival that occurs, and not the kind that involves circus tents and acrobatics. It does have a prominent feature of a lot of festivals, that being clowns. They play a key role of the festival itself, and it's up to our narrator to figure out what the mystery behind the origins of this festival is. Now, if you're familiar with a lot of Lovecraft stories or just cosmic horror in general, you can probably see where this is going. As our anthropologist protagonist begins to scout out the town of Miroka, he ends up running into one of these clowns. This is where the story finally starts to pick itself up and poses an interesting question about the nature of rituals and traditions. The narrator stumbles upon a group of men roughhousing a clown figure. When the narrator asks about the traditions to the group of men, he doesn't get any type of answer. All we get out of it is someone is elected at some point, and that person can literally be anyone. You'd think for this reason that they might treat the clown well, but the fate of the elected person is beyond bleak. They are occasionally beaten by the people in town. Why do they do this? They don't even know why. That answer is chilling because they're essentially just giving out abuse just because. They follow tradition blindly without a hint of empathy or remorse. Although the picture of a clown getting ganged up on by a group of guys might seem laughable, it only highlights the absurdity of traditions. There's no inherent logic or reason behind it. It's done that way because it's always been done that way, and it's never questioned. Adherence to tradition without any form of reason is, especially ones that are cruel, can create an inescapable cycle of cruelty. After the narrator finishes talking to the group of men, he ends up running into another clown. The clown is different from the other ones. It's obviously not something that's human, but the narrator decides to go in and basically assault the thing. As he spent a considerable time in Miroka, at this point, he's starting to engage in the same type of behavior that mortified him mere moments ago. He even kind of laughs it off before realizing that the strange clowns are more sacred to the people of Miroka. That also has some disturbing implications to it. As a lot of people get more integrated into society, they'll be introduced to certain norms and traditions which are expected to be upheld. Even if these traditions may seem cruel at first to outsiders, they can even end up getting wrapped up in society's whims. They will essentially become like the people that they previously viewed as strange. The narrator says, "If there's anything that I've learned in all my years as an anthropologist, is that the world is infinitely rich in phenomena that society as we know it, whoever we might be, would regard as strange, even to the point that the concept of strangeness itself has little meaning to me." He states this as he's introduced to the ritual taking place with the strange clowns. I think this highlights the inherent isolating effects of not conforming to one tradition or the other. You'll find yourself in a state like the narrator. You will be an outsider within all communities, which breeds a sense of hostility. You aren't necessarily welcomed, but you're not necessarily pushed away. As you get to see both perspectives in Miroka of the regular people and the strange clowns, you can easily see how one can get sucked in the trap of tradition and one's own perspective. Considering Legati is an antinatalist, you can see how easily his attitude towards tradition is reflected within The Last Feast of Harlequin. Having a child is often just done for the sake of having one, and many don't even think of what the child may be subjected to in life. I'm not going to go any farther into his personal beliefs, but after you understand his perspective, it becomes more of an interesting read. The Last Feast of the Harlequin is far from my favorite Legati story, but it has some of the most profound insight into human nature itself. What starts off as a typical Lovecraft style story quickly layers itself in ambiguity and existential dread. Many of you are probably unfamiliar with his work, but if you're feeling a little blue this season, make sure you pay the piper and indulge yourself in the crushing indifference of the universe.